Hello, everybody, and welcome to the very 14th episode of Cooldown Timer. I am your host, Neefu, and with me today I am joined by Zingallsartman.
I'm gonna punch an elf.
And from the frozen wastelands of Alaska, Mr. H.
Complete with crackles.
Why do you get a better intro than I do?
Because I can think on my feet, Sam.
No, it's because you're from Alaska, and that's interesting.
Okay, so I was listening to our last week's podcast. There was the bit on PC gaming versus console gaming. When I was listening through it, I got so mad at myself for the fact that I could not think on my feet, and I was just thinking of all these things that I would say to you about, like, you know, actually debating instead of saying, that's a matter of opinion. But no, I can't think on my feet. Hence last week.
You're handicapped.
It's true.
I'm a communications major, trained in the art of rhetoric and debate.
It is very, very true. So do you have any problems with any of our recent episodes this time, Mr. H?
Not really, but my wife had some complaints.
Oh, gosh.
What about?
Well, mostly that I didn't bring up the fact that she likes video games too, because Sam said that his girlfriend likes video games.
Fiance, get it right.
Yeah, fiance. I'm sorry, I'm not French. I took Spanish in high school.
My girlfriend's been playing a butt ton of Oblivion lately.
I've noticed that makes me so happy. I've been wanting to play Oblivion so bad.
What? So I recently built her a computer. And so I was like, okay, we got to break this in with some sort of game. So I downloaded a couple from my Steam account. I was like, okay, let's try one of these. Let's start with Oblivion, see how you feel about it. And so she started playing, and she ran into some of the people that are like, oh, the thief guy, the head of the Thieves Guild. What's his name? The Gray Fox. And then she runs into the dude to join, and she's like, oh, okay, I'll join the Thieves Guild to catch the Gray Fox. And then, for whatever reason, she eventually became a master booze thief and would break into the various castles of Tamriel?
Cyrodiil.
Well,
Tamriel is the
continent. Okay, yeah, the various castles in Cyrodiil to steal all the expensive booze.
you gotta have a hobby.
It's true.
It is
Nolan,
true.
What did you do the one time? You tried to collect all the keys.
No, we collected a shield from each city.
I became the Master Thieves Guild person, as you do, and I decided to fill the entire room with silver.
With silver?
Yeah, I tried to find every silver plate, bowl, or cup and drop it on the floor.
Where did I hear about the keys thing then?
I once stole skulls. They're kind of rare in Oblivion, but I would get every single one I could find, and I was playing this orc that I had messed with until his skin was blood red. And I think I had 100 skulls or 200 skulls at the end, and I went into the and this was when I was done with the character. I went into one of the main fountains in one of the main cities, and I just dropped all of the skulls and then killed everybody in all the cities. And I was like, well, this guy's done.
Which actually reminds me, I've recently been playing the 1999 classic RPG Planescape Torment.
Oh, look at you little hipster.
Oh, I know, right? Actually, that reminds me of something I'll tell you when we get to it later. But I've been playing it, and one of the recent things, you've got a companion character who's basically this floating skull, who's kind of a little sassy. But he was kidnapped by this dude who has a collection of skulls. And so the way that my conversation with him ended, he sent me off to go find him a skull of greater value than that skull to trade for it so I could get my homie back. And so basically I just spent the next half hour collecting various skulls before I realized that it needed to be a named skull. And so I just killed his servant and gave him his servant's skull.
Huh.
I would be disappointed with that trade.
Yep. That's my advice.
I've been playing Skyrim, and I've been playing an illusion roguish type, and I've taken great joy in using the spell Fury on rabbits, so they try to attack me, but they don't have an attack, so they just follow me around Skyrim, hoping that I die.
So, since we're actually on the topic of video games, that brings us to our very first discussion question email. After our discussion last week about overrated video games and PC and console gaming, we got a message from Zach, and this is what he had to say. So, in response to what I believe was the last episode, would you guys be willing to discuss your opinions on what you believe to be the defining characteristics of a video game? What makes a video game a video game? A lot of games nowadays immerse the player in an interactive narrative without requiring the player to complete any objective beyond turning the page in a book, so to speak. Many video games are more movie and cutscenes than they are interactive game. So what defines a video game? Does the video game medium encompass too great a variety of genres? Thanks. Well,
You're welcome.
this is actually something that I've actually felt really passionately about recently, because I have felt that the video game medium has been done a grave disservice by having the word game in the name of the medium, because with game you get a lot of games tend to be challenging to some extent, or I don't know, competitive.
There's a
winner, there's
goal,
a loser,
yeah.
there's an end game goal, yeah. And that kind of a definition completely rules out things like for video games, rules out things like Proteus or The Walking Dead, where it's not really challenging.
It's
more
about
like
the journey more than it is about the actual
experience.
gameplay and stuff.
And so, I don't know. I've been hearing a lot of people recently talking about the renaming the medium. Some of the names I've heard recently have been like interactive entertainment, interactive media, interactive entertainment experiences. But basically, we need to come up with a new name for our medium so that we can get those "that's not a game" people to just shut up and go away.
I know, right?
Objection.
I was playing Massive.
I don't think we need a new name.
You don't need it. You don't think we need a new name? Explain.
No, I don't. Because I think people who get in a tizzy about whether something is a game or not really don't. Take art, for example. Nobody can settle on a definition of art.
Yeah.
Everyone's arguing about whether something is art or not. So that doesn't mean we change the art museum to the aesthetic experience repository. We just say it's art, okay? It's complicated. I think this is art. We're going to put it in a museum.
I'm actually in the process of working on a new video series involving generalizations about video games. Whether I actually finish it or not, who knows? But I'm working on it. In the process of doing that, I did a bunch of research recently on the discussions about video games as art. And I mean, recently, some video games were recently inducted. I don't know. There's now video games in the Smithsonian Art Museum. So I mean, a lot of them are considered art now. But it was interesting seeing who considers video games art and who doesn't consider video games art, because a lot of people, even in the industry, don't consider video games to be art, like Hideo Kojima of Metal Gear Solid. But then again, those games
Metal Gear Solid
critiqued for being more
dense
cutscene than convoluted cutscene than actual game. I don't know. I also think that, and maybe this is just one of those things that we just have to deal with, but video game as a name, just with people who aren't gamers, just
You mean interactive media
consume, yeah.
Consumers of modern interactive
art. They just like, okay, so my dad recently had his hip replaced, and that's why we didn't have an episode out last week. My life has been kind of hectic lately, and so we weren't able to get together to record. I was sitting there waiting for my dad to go into surgery, and there was stuff about CES going on, and they were showing something about the Oculus Rift, and I've been telling my dad about the Oculus Rift for a while because I'm crazy excited for that thing. I was like, okay, yeah, that's the VR headset that I've been telling you about forever. And my grandma was like, what's going on? It's like, oh, it's our VR headset. For what? And it's like, for games. And she kind of just gives me that, oh, games look, just like, yes, there's a lot of merit to this medium if you would give it a chance.
You've never grown up because every once in a while you touch the keys WASD.
I had a point to this whole thing.
Well, I can pick you up there, and this is what I feel about it. There's definite stigma to video games, but I think we're just gonna have to wait for it to die off. For example, back in the mid-1800s, people thought that novels were stupid. There's a stupid thing, like a fictional little novel book. You should be writing poetry. That's what real people do, or reading poetry, or non-fiction books. But then, in the 1870s, you ever heard of Ben-Hur? I'd be surprised if you hadn't.
I've heard of it as a movie.
I've heard of
Ben-Hur. It's based off a book written by a Civil War general, retired. And historians say that's about when the novel kind of took a turn. It became really popular. People were crazy
said,
about
what a
it.
Novel idea.
It was the Harry Potter of its day, you might say. And nowadays, if someone said novels, we'd say, okay, you're kind of weird. I guess you don't like novels. And so all I'm saying is we gotta wait.
Comics, which is probably the next step of what you're about to say.
Yeah, that's kind of in between right now. It's become more respected. It's still kind of derided. I'm just saying we just have to wait 100 years, and video games will be fine.
Well, no, but that's the problem. Like, that's another issue that I have started to notice with video games is that they are not a long-lasting medium because they are so built in. There's the games are so integrated with the technology and the software of the time that it's going to be very difficult to play older games in the future when nobody's touched Windows 7 since 50 years ago, and we're on. Well, I'm assuming we'll probably actually be in a post Windows age by that point, but
maybe. I don't think Linux will be able to. No, that's a whole nother
discussion.
No, I mean,
totally in the sense where, like, I mean, there's a lot of discussion right now about how Windows is going to have to deal with the fact that Apple has recently made their operating systems free.
I didn't know about this.
Oh yeah, no, they recently made upgrades to their newer versions of their operating system free.
Yeah, but they're still proprietary, right?
Yes. You can only download it onto an Apple program or onto an Apple device, and you have to have already purchased it to upgrade it. But Windows is going to have to step up their game, or they're going to be replaced. And also, Android is starting to actually be used more as a operating system for desktop devices. But how did we get here?
Well, as far as you were talking about the age limit, the expiration date on video games. Yes. But I would like to point out that this is a pretty serious problem, but I just brought up Ben-Hur. That was the biggest thing of its day. Just about everyone in America had read Ben-Hur, or at least heard of it. Nowadays, we know it was a movie from the 50s.
With what, like Charlton Heston or something?
Yeah, but the medium of the novel lives on. I mean, how many novels have you read from the 1800s lately?
Lately? One was...
Oh, stop it.
None. I don't read novels. Though I did read a bunch of comics within the last 2 days.
Read any from the 1800s?
No,
Catch
none of them were from the 1800s.
The little yellow kid? Some cats and
that
jammer
sounded
kids
entirely racist.
It was, but... Anyway.
And on that racist note, let's bring ourselves to our next
I did not have much to say about that whole topic.
One of the topics that we had kind of thought up to talk about. Thank you very much, Zach, for your question. We hope you message us again in the future sometime, because we are sorely lacking in communication right now. But yeah,
I mean,
so next.
what he's trying to say is we have so many emails. It's hard to sort through them.
So many.
So send more.
Send more. So
that'll
that we
fix
know
our-
the good ones to look at.
Not that we need
right?
them, you know.
Yeah, we don't need your assistance. We
Moving on.
just, would you kindly send us emails? Okay, so next question. Shifting media formats to movies. What was your favorite childhood film, or favorite film that you watched as a kid, or what do you have a special soft spot for in your heart? I personally, there were two. Well, supposedly when I was really, really, really young, I would watch Charlotte's Web, the animated Charlotte's Web, over and over and over again. But I haven't watched that in enough years that I don't remember a thing about that thing. Except
I
for
remember
it was
that
sad.
movie.
It had the
Remember
credits
the
at the
book.
beginning because it was really boring.
He
I
was
remember the credits
some
being
pig.
boring. Speaking of movies about pigs, I recently watched the first half of Babe. That movie is so depressing. The end.
I don't know. Okay, first off, has anyone here seen Willow?
I've heard of it.
I whip my hair back and forth. I whip my hair back and forth.
I'll take that as a no.
It's
Willow.
got a midget in it, right?
Yeah, it's about a bunch of these. I don't remember what being they call them in this fantasy world, but it's just basically this terrible movie about a bunch of little people solving problems. And it had Val Kilmer, is that his name? He was in it. He's awful.
He's like what, that action hero? Well, he was an action star for a while, and now he is a parody of himself.
Yeah, pretty much. Anyway, terrible movie. I don't know. I didn't watch it when I was like really young or anything. I just remember that movie being terrible, and every time I bring it up, no one's ever seen it.
I've never seen it.
I've heard of it. There are fans out there.
Though, movie from when I was a kid, either Land Before Time.
I rewatched that recently. It was not as good as I remember,
Wow, imagine that.
though it was sad. It was
Tree
definitely sad.
stars.
3 stars. Hey, that's my job.
Don't throw it away.
What about you, Mr. H?
Na, 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 na.
Neefu.
Speaking of singing, actually, I was having a little trouble with this, but I remember there's a musical that I don't think many people remember, but it was my favorite movie for a period of time as a child, and that was Dr. Dolittle.
Oh my gosh.
As in the old one or the Eddie Murphy
the
one?
old one, the musical
Oh,
from
okay. I
like
never saw
the
that one. I saw the Eddie Murphy one.
70s.
I saw
or
the original
something.
one a long time ago.
I saw that movie so many times. I can still sing most of the songs. I'm not going to. Well, I might later. But I loved it. It was just... kids don't need a reason to love something most of the time. I just liked it. I liked the songs. I thought it was cool. There was a giant pink sea snail. And there was animals. Talking to animals is cool. And the funny thing is, years and years later, just very recently, I saw one of those web reviewers who review things reviewing that movie. Fellow by the name of Pawdugan. I'm sure we can put a link down there if I give Neefu the information.
Yeah, just send me the link and I'll post it.
He does a great review series called Music Movies. It's just musicals. And he reviewed Dr. Dolittle, and it's like his least favorite movie ever, practically. He hates it. He tears it apart. Apparently it was a critical failure, and it lost a huge amount of money because they thought it was going to be a huge success, and they made all this merchandise for it that nobody wanted.
Merchandising. Spaceballs.
I just
the
remembered. Oh my gosh.
flamethrower.
Okay,
The
so I
kids love
just
this one.
I just remembered a movie that I used to love when I was a kid. I haven't seen it in years, and I'm sure it's absolutely terrible. The live action Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie.
Never saw it. No, I saw it in Spanish when I was in Panama. Like half of it.
It's terrifying. I want to. I've
seen a lot of really weird random movies in Spanish when I was in Panama.
I really want to rewatch it.
The Jungle Book in English. I've seen it in Spanish at least 3 times, but I've never seen it in English.
But that's where they're like in the big costumes, right? Like the full body purple suits.
Yeah, they're puppets.
I mean, green suits.
Yeah. And it's a full-on movie. It's like a PG-13 or R movie.
Really?
It's probably PG-13. I think it's
I wouldn't
Was
know.
there a lot of turtle
all I
blood?
remember is it was dark, and as a little kid, I was like, dang, this is kind of dark.
Well, you know, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is based off of a really dark indie comic.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was an indie comic first, where it was all about Splinter training up these turtles to kill Shredder, because Shredder had killed his master, and it was all about revenge, you know, it was Splinter getting his revenge, and it was really bloody, and everyone dies in the end. And they made a cartoon out of it.
Where can I get this comic?
Right?
But actually, the merchandising discussion going like 2 or 3 threads back reminds me of one of the movies that when I was a kid, my sister and I would watch it over and over and over and over and over again, and that was Spaceballs. My sister and I at the time had a very, very silly, stupid sense of humor, and we loved anything that was silly and stupid, and we would just watch Spaceballs and Shrek just over and over and over again. Spaceballs, Shrek. Yeah. I think that's
Spaceballs is fun.
Yeah.
It's not my favorite Mel Brooks movie.
Well, you know, I really had it built up to me, you know? People would always say, like, oh, Spaceballs, that's so awesome. And then I saw it when I was in college, and I'm like, this is really cornball. This isn't just cheesy. This is made in Wisconsin.
Bring only what you need to survive. This is my industrial strength hair dryer, and I can't live without it.
Wow.
What?
You really know it. Well, you know what I think my favorite part of that entire movie is?
Prepare to fast forward. Prepare to fast forward. Fast forwarding.
I think my favorite part of that entire movie is when they're Princess Vespa.
Went to Plaid.
Princess Vespa and her droid
Raspberry.
are in.
There's only one man who would dare give me the raspberry. Lone Star.
Where Princess Vespa and...
I lost the beeps, I lost the bleeps, and I got some creeps.
I'm just gonna go to sleep.
So what was your favorite scene, Sam?
I don't even remember
up.
anymore.
Don't be
Okay, so the
shy.
scene when Princess Vespa and the robot get into the car for the first time, and the robot's trying to talk to her, and she's just sitting there, and then she takes off she's got the buns on, and she takes them off in their headphones, but she just looks just like Princess Leia before that, and I don't know, it was funny. I thought that part was pretty clever.
Well, my favorite scene from that, I mean, there were scenes that made me laugh, and most of it was like, wow, this is corny.
Yogurt.
But the scene that took
yogurt.
me most
Strawberries.
by surprise was when they're in that diner and that chest burster comes out and then starts dancing.
Yeah, that part was really weird.
That just was so ridiculous
Check,
and
please.
unexpected.
When you're right, you're right.
And
you're always right.
There are so many sexual jokes in that movie that I did not get when I was a little kid.
You said to comb the desert, so we're combing it.
Well, you know, Sam, I know you're a big fan of Mel Brooks.
Not a big fan,
2,
but
3.
I enjoy some of his stuff.
It's like the same password an idiot has on his luggage. Hey, that's the same password as mine. Continue.
It's the sugar. Put that down. Put that down.
Bad podcast
just a
host.
milkshake.
Bad.
And I had a pie earlier.
I was wondering because you don't act like this usually. It's the freaking sugar. Anyway, no, I my dad found this weird, like, giant collection of Mel Brooks movies, somewhere. I don't know. And anyway, so we had a ton of Mel Brooks movies, and some of his stuff is pretty funny, and not all of it's as cheesy as Spaceballs. And I like...
I have a special hatred in my heart for the producers.
I haven't seen the producers, actually.
It's so sexual. But then again, a lot of his stuff is.
High Anxiety was funny.
The producers was... I didn't like it, but there were some parts that are just, again, really quotable. He's got a lot of really quotable
Okay, so he had this... He had this other one. I'm trying to remember the name of it. But basically...
Blazing Saddles.
It was about...
Young Frankenstein.
We
could just go to that one scene in Spaceballs where it goes through his entire filmography.
It was about a Jewish theater troupe during World War II, and the main character is trying to like get his theater back or something like that, and so he's an actor, so he ends up pretending to be these different people. And it just gets more ridiculous. Pretty soon he's pretending to be like Hitler. And then he has to run to another room and be someone else and stuff. And it was pretty funny, actually. And there's
I'm
a lot of...
shaking my head at you.
There's a lot of funny Jewish
It's an
jokes in
audio
it.
medium, so... Hey, guess what? I'm Jewish.
I know.
I think. I'm supposed... The family story that we recently found out is that I'm like 132nd or 116th Jewish or something. But for my birthday this year, I asked my dad to get me one of those like $100 DNA tests to... confirm my heritage.
Why?
Because I want to know.
Who cares?
I do.
I'll get you a freaking yarmulke.
That doesn't matter. I want to know.
I can think of worse things to want as a present.
That's
Maybe
in
you'll
case
find
I
out
don't.
you got some leprechaun.
Ooh. What if I was Irish?
By the way, fun Mel Brooks fact. Do you know Mel Brooks was responsible for the first fart in a motion picture?
Yeah, in Blazing Saddles, right?
Yeah, it was a lot of farts, actually.
Yeah, it was a lot of
one of them
farts.
was the first.
Huh.
He's responsible for the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th.
Okay,
And
Blazing
so on,
Saddles
fart.
is stupid, but I just love how at the very end they end up out of the movie and then they go back in to see how the movie ends. Spoiler alert. That was fun.
And I tried watching Blazing Saddles, but the other thing was I watched it on TV, so every like 10 minutes it's like a commercial break.
Oh.
I hate commercials.
That would get annoying really fast.
Yeah. My dad and I have been trying to watch TV together recently, but he likes watching things immediately when they air. I can't stand it because there are commercials and we only have standard def TV. We have HD TVs, but we only get standard def TV.
Oh, it was PG.
That's just terrible.
It is
isn't
terrible, so I have to wait till the next day, and sometimes he doesn't want to wait because he's impatient like that. But, you know, whatever. Those are scary turtles.
Neefu
They are
problems.
freaking terrifying turtles. The second one's on Netflix. I've been meaning to watch it.
Oh, are you looking at turtles?
Oh, he showed me the
I'm on the
Teenage
yeah.
Mutant
if we're-
Ninja Turtles.
If we're sharing pictures of turtles, I've got quite a collection.
Are they lol turtles? Okay, here's just a totally random thing. This will probably end up being our closing discussion, but try to help me understand your wife's obsession with lolcats. I don't understand.
No, it's you know, you're putting too much thought into this, Neefu. It's not a mystery. She likes cats. Okay? She likes cats. Lolcats are cats, pictures of cats with funny things on them. It is not a mystery. That's all there is to it.
Okay.
I just explained a good portion of the internet to you. I find lolcats
reminded me
pretty
of
funny
something-
myself, actually.
There's some good ones.
Lolcats are so 4 years ago.
Though my favorite lolcat kind of meme going around, because there's like the cheeseburger cat. He was like the first one, but there's one that's got this really fat cat, though you can only see his head. He's like a kind of gray cat, and his face is all scrunched up into his folds of hat, and he's just staring intensely into space in it. And the caption is heavy breathing, and you just put that in a post when you're like, because that's what it looks like the cat's doing, and he looks so intense.
The catchphrase for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movie was, "Hey dude, this is no cartoon."
That's accurate.
Oh my.
It's also terrible.
I've got 2 cats. I've got 1 cat that's outside.
I have
and
2
then 1
cans.
cat-
Actually, I got that wrong. It wasn't. The caption wasn't heavy breathing. It was breathing intensifies.
But no, we've got a cat that's outside, and then we got a cat that's inside. And I was recently changing the locks on our door because they just like fell apart one day recently, and it fell apart in my hands, which isn't a good thing for your locks on your house door. It was like,
Whoops.
oops. And so we were changing them out, and the door was open for this, and the cat just jumps in the house. It's like, no, get out, cat. And like, it was afraid. We kicked it back out of the house. Not kicked it, but we got it back out of the
You
house.
abuse animals! You're gonna burn in cat hell!
It just like stayed away from us for the next like 20 minutes until we kind of just like lured it back and got it to allow us to scratch its head and remember that we're nice to it still. And then it showed up the next morning ready for food.
My fiance has the weirdest cat. Her cat is extremely, extremely prissy. But I think he weighs like 20 pounds or something like that. He's a big cat.
I don't know why I thought you were going to say 200 pounds. And then when you said 20 pounds, like, that's totally wrong. He's 200.
Okay.
Blame the milkshake.
Anyway, this cat hates everybody. You know what? I just closed down the freaking podcast. You're so annoying.
That was the milkshake song. My milkshake brings all the boys to
You're still annoying.
This is all comedy
Tell your
gold.
story.
Oh my God.
Tell your story.
I don't even care anymore. The cat is funny.
Comedy bronze, maybe. No, I have one last comment, and that is, I find it kind of disturbing that you have an indoor cat and an outdoor cat, and you keep this social order. The outdoor cat wants to become indoor, you kick him out. He is a
It's
plebeian.
a caste system.
He is not allowed
We
in.
actually...
And
we
your indoor
found-
cat, he gets to enjoy all the benefits of being inside. Doesn't have to do the labor. He's an aristocat.
Well, okay, so I got a question. What's the difference? Why is one cat outside and one cat inside? Good
Both
God.
cats started out as outside cats, but one day...
One worked his way from his crummy desk job all the way up to the top.
One day we
That
were just
corner office
outside,
is his.
and all of a sudden we hear this meowing coming from underneath this pile of wood, like logs. So we lifted the logs, and there was this poor little baby starving kitten in there, which we adopted into the house. And so that cat just grew up in the house versus the cat that, again, they both started outside, but...
Born into luxury.
Exactly. Luck.
His blood was more pure.
Is one a girl and one a boy?
I think they're both to the best of my understanding, they're both females.
Darn it. If one was a guy and one was a girl, you should totally have named the one outside Aladdin and the one inside Jasmine.
Okay, so we're talking
You should have
about...
named the outside one proletariat and the inside one bourgeoisie.
You're speaking a
pronounce
language
that?
I don't understand.
I'm speaking the language of communism. So I guess it's a
Well,
good
we
thing you don't understand.
that. Murica.
Oh gosh, those people irritate me so much. Nothing wrong with, a good, healthy appreciation for the place that you live. But the people who are like, America is the greatest country in the world. Nobody else has any value to their country whatsoever. If it doesn't exist in the United States, it's stupid. Those people bug me. But then again, in general, people who have just crazy charged opinions about things and completely disregard other people who have different opinions, those kinds of people bug me too.
I was going to say, because you have really crazy charged opinions.
But the difference is that I can respect that other people have different opinions, even if I mock them behind their back, because I think
I was
their
going to say,
opinions are
except for the
stupid.
people that have crazy charged opinions.
You have
I at
charged
least respect
opinions
them
about
to their
charged
faces.
Oh, what a great human being you are.
It's all about the public persona, right? It's about considering that
I thought this was your public persona.
this is my public persona, the nice guy.
What are you like behind closed doors, Neefu?
I'm a disappointment. That's what I am behind closed doors. I've recently had this kind of epiphany that I am a disappointment, that I present myself as this, eloquent, well-spoken, well-dressed, well put together individual, but really I'm just a nut job who has a microphone and delusions of grandeur. Moving on. If you liked what you heard, you can check out more episodes at cooldownttimer.com or on iTunes, or on Stitcher, or on youtube.com/cooldownttimer podcast, I think. We're actually going, the intention is still to do a couple videos to post on there. Haven't quite gotten to them yet, but we will get to them soon. We'll post about them on the Facebook page and on the website once we've got them up. Speaking of the Facebook page, Cool Down Timer Podcast, the Twitter page, Cool Down Timer.
We really need to streamline this ending. It takes
right?
like as long as the dang podcast.
You can follow Zingallsartman here at Facebook or on Twitter, both Zingallsartman. You can follow me on Facebook and Twitter at Straight Up Neefu, and on YouTube at youtube.com/Neefu. And then you can follow Mr. H here on the page nebula.wordpress.com.
You got it.
I got it.
That was beautiful.
That was beautiful. Love my segue there, right?
Question of the week. What was your favorite childhood movie?
Tell us about it either on any of those other previously mentioned social media sites or contact us at cooldownttimer.com.
And rate us all of the stars.
Rate us all of the stars on the iTunes and the Stitchers.
And we will love you.
Because we only have a couple downloads each episode. Tell your friends, dude. We're lonely. Send us
Be
emails.
hipster.
And I think, and I think you sell your short, Neefu. Sometimes you are well dressed.
Sometimes.
Good night, everybody.
Good night. Have a great Easter.